Good Friday afternoon. It's SteenSmokeHouse. As you recall, on Friday afternoons after a long week of work, my favorite thing to cook is a steak. I got a real special one tonight, and I'm going to do it on a pit barrel cooker. I've never done a steak on the pit barrel cooker. I've cooked large cuts of meat. I've done low and slow. I've done really fast and hot, but I usually use my Weber, my gas grill, or even a cast iron skillet to cook a steak. This time I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the pit barrel cooker. It's kind of like pit barrel cooker month for me. And I'm going to show you the steak we bought. This is a USDA Prime bone-in ribeye, and it's a beast of a steak. So hang on a moment, and I'll share it with you. I'm going to unwrap it in just a moment. As you can see, it's almost as wide in the wrapper as our 18-inch pit barrel cooker grill that we're going to grill it on. I just wanted to give you that for a perspective shot. I'll unwrap it right now and show you what we're going to cook. And before we cook it, we're going to season it. There's one shot of it. I'm going to turn it around so you can see the other side of it. It's really a monster. I didn't realize when I bought it at Costco it was quite so big. I just pointed at it and said, yeah, I like that one right there. And in a minute I'll show the other side of it. Here's the other side view. It's almost 3 3/4 inches thick. It's 3.5 pounds. It's going to be great. I couldn't figure out the best way to cook this. If I put it on any other grill, since one side is probably 3/4 an inch less thick than the other side, I was afraid it would cook unevenly. But it occurred to me in the pit barrel cooker, since the convection cook surrounds everything, that'd be an ideal way to do it. I've got it being fired up right now, and as soon as I get it fired up, we're going to put it in there. Right now I'm going to show you how I season it. It's going to be real simple. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on it, just a trace. I'm going to use our salt and pepper mixture, which I use on practically every cut of beef. And I'm going to use pit barrel cooker beef and game pit rub on it to give it a little more character and some flavor, and kind of marries the pit barrel to it. Be right back. Just a little bit of olive oil, not too much. I put on a little more than I wanted to. It's not really going to hurt anything. Salt and pepper. Putting a little bit more than I usually do. I'm not going to season the sides of it. I don't think it really needs it. It's the center is just going to add a little hint of character to it, and once it's in the pit barrel, the whole thing will be wrapped in the pit barrel goodness, and it'll be just fine. Doesn't get any simpler than that. I'm going to go ahead and let this rest and come to room temp. It's a pretty big cut of meat, and all of our beef we like to get to room temp. This is really the only meat I like to get to room temp, but I'm going to lay it aside and then show you what we're going to use to cook it. You know, in the old days, probably everybody has or had one of these, and we used to cook with these and do just fine. It's kind of hard to use this as a point, and they're not instant read. It takes a while for it to read at all. And then these you can get at the grocery store pretty cheap. They're not waterproof. I found that out the hard way. And I used to use those on my big pit and some of my little pits just to get a good idea of the temperature. But now I've become a little more scientific, and thanks to ThermoWorks, I can be a lot more accurate. And I'll show you what we're going to use to cook this big giant steak. I've really come to rely on these Thermapen instant read thermometers. They're made by ThermoWorks. ThermoWorks have a special. I almost failed to mention this. Up until Monday, 2-3 days from now, all ThermoWorks products are 15% off. I'll post a link in my show more, and I'll have a live link there. And if you want to buy it through my website and save 15%, all you have to do is click on that. It'll get you right to their website, and you can buy it right there. This, of course, is the ThermoWorks Smoke. It is also 15% off until Monday. This is the tool we're going to use to monitor the temp in this great big 3.5 pound bone-in ribeye. I've come to rely on this a lot. I use it pretty much every time I use my great big pit. It comes with 2 probes, one for the grill temp, I mean the grill itself, the interior of the grill, and one for the interior of the meat. And you can kind of monitor the difference between the two, and at any given time you'll know what it is. This is magnetic, and it also has a stand on the back. It's restaurant grade, it's really robust. This is the remote device, and you can turn it on, and you can be up to 300 feet away from it and still know exactly what your grill temp is and exactly what the interior of your meat temp is. So I've got our big pit barrel cooker being fired up right now, and in a few minutes I'm going to put the steak on. I'm inserting our meat probe into our great big bone-in ribeye, and in a moment it's going to go on the pit barrel cooker grill. I try to get this as close as I can to the middle of the thickness of the meat and the middle of the width and length of the meat, and not touching bone and not protruding through the meat. It should be about good right there. And in a moment I'll show you what the temp of the meat is before we put it on the grill. This is the sending unit. Like I said, it's got a magnet on and it's got a stand on it. This is the receiver unit, and they're both synced at 44 degrees, and it'll ride right up there until we get to our preferred doneness. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. That's what it's set up like. As soon as the meat comes to temp a little more, out on the grill it goes. This big monster's on our pit barrel cooker. I ran the thermometer wire through one of the rebar holes. Every pit barrel cook gets rebar. It helps control the temp. It helps control the airflow. I'm going to go ahead and put the rebar in and put the lid on. I don't know if you can see just how beautiful this thing is. It's so big. I didn't realize it was this big. But anyway, all fun stuff. Internal meat temp is now about 90. Our target temp's like 130, 140, somewhere in there. I think the steak is so big, I think it's still going to be kind of medium rare in the middle, which is really the way I like it. So I'm going to pull this lid off and take a look at it. Be right back with you. Our steak's really looking gorgeous. I almost can't wait to slice into it. Once it gets to about the mid-range temp, it's actually about 94 right now. Since it's surrounded in the convection effect of the pit barrel cooker, I'm not really going to have to flip it over. Heat rises, and the heat from the pit barrel is going to kind of bathe the meat in heat and goodness and convection and all that kind of stuff. The rebar stays in all the time when you use the pit barrel cooker because that controls the temp. So I'm going to cover it back up and let it finish cooking. This steak smells amazing. I'm going to walk around to the other side of the camera and take a slice right about there and see what it looks like. I'm hoping it's kind of pink, medium rare, medium, which is the way I like it. It's USDA Prime, so it's going to be tender regardless, but I want it to look a certain way. It did get a little bit of grill marks to it. The cap part got done, but it's the really most tender part of the ribeye anyway. So I'm going to cut it open right now while you watch. I have no idea how it's turned out.
As you know, a ribeye is like a small prime rib. It's just cut to one bone, whereas a prime rib has 2, 3, 4, 5 bones. This one came out like a big roast, only in steak form. It came out the exact doneness I wanted, and I really couldn't be happier with it. As you see in the middle, it's nice and pink. It did not get, it just perfect. The cap got a little more done, but once you cut into the cap, it's still so tender. It's probably the most tender part of this prime ribeye steak.
Our steak came out perfectly the way I like it. It's exactly the right color. I put some tomatoes here. We've got a baked potato with chives and butter and so on. A couple onions, avocado, some parsley for a little color on there. This meat is so tender. It just pulls apart. It's just like a brisket we'd cook, and it's delicious.
I encourage you to try this technique on the next big steak you cook. I really thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next time.